How's it going, ladies and Bruce's up? I'll be Sixkilla, welcome back to Ever 17, the Coco route. It seems like you's getting sick all of a sudden. I'm not too sure what that's about, unfortunately, because that's new. So we're going to take her to the infirmary now and see what's up with her, unless she's just going to be the first person to exhibit TB symptoms or something. I don't know, we haven't had any TB yet, really, so that's good. Coco, I'm going to carry you to the infirmary. Carry you to the infirmary, sorry. That's weird because of her name, you know. So you go on ahead and tell everybody what's going on. Okay, I will. I carried you on my back and jumped out of the kiosk. The infirmary was close, so I could get there in less than a minute if I ran. Before I could think, my feet had already started moving. Takeshi? Takeshi? I kept running in silence. The infirmary was near. Hey Takeshi, he whispered into my ear in a small voice. Rip Van Winkle was... He really... Rip Van Winkle did exist. I screamed out. You're so silly. It's just a fairy tale. Look, not all fairy tales are fiction. What the fuck? That doesn't mean that Rip Van Winkle actually existed, does it? Besides, even if the tale of Rip Van Winkle was real, that has nothing to do with you, kid. It does too. We're talking about whether people could actually travel through time, right? That's what I mean, don't you get it? I'm saying that even if someone could actually travel in time, it doesn't necessarily mean that you did. Then how come I can see the future? Don't ask me, how should I know? It has to be because I'm experiencing the same moment in time over and over again. I must have been stuck in Lamu in the past also. 3 days passed, then 4, 5 days, and after that I must have slipped through time for some reason. Meaning I must have travelled back in time from the moment I fell into that pond. That must be why I can look into the future. No, I mean, I must be remembering things I've already experienced in the past instead of looking to the future to be exact. But I don't know how. But I'm probably carrying memories of the past. Really? Well, that must be it then. Oh, come on, I'm being serious here. I'm sorry, but I got far more serious, urgent problems. I got tons of things to think about. You know what I'm talking about, kid? I don't know what the reason is, but you can predict the future. So what? It's not like it's a bad ability to have. As a matter of fact, I can imagine that it would come in real handy. You make it sound so simple, but in my case, I don't think it is the ability to see the future. I'm pretty sure I travelled through time. I might even be repeating the same moment in history over and over again. And what's more, I'm pretty sure the amnesia has something to do with the time travel. Like, how many times do I have to tell you? Time travel is not possible. And as far as your amnesia, I'm sure you regain your memories in time. You're already beginning to remember things, right? I mean, you've actually remembered most everything, haven't you? Not everything, I just remembered things about Sarah. Just childhood memories. I still don't have any memories from the last few years. I have no idea how I got to Lamu, or why, or with whom. I still don't remember anything before May 1st, the day I came into Lamu. Where I was, what I was doing, or who I am. Huh? Wait a second. You're Maya's brother, right? You did remember that, don't you? Yeah. So you have to at least know who you are. But I don't. Well, she must know. How can I explain this? If someone were to ask me, who are you, all I could say is, I'm Sarah Matsunaga's brother. I don't know any other way to answer. Then all of a sudden, oh. You raised your voice and pointed your finger at me. That reminds me, I keep forgetting to ask you something important. Something important? Name. Your name. Your name, kid. Mayo told you, didn't she? You did ask you, didn't you? You haven't asked you your name? No, I haven't. You shook her head, looked up at the ceiling and chewed on her lips. I'm very curious about what his name is. She clenched her fist, went to shake it in the air and then rethought it and pulled it back down. You then proceeded to stomp around in a puddle of water. She crouched down and hopped up swiftly. She took a deep breath. I thought she was going to blow it out, but she continued to take it in one long breath in. And then she said, are you stupid or what? Her voice was so loud it shook Lamu like an earthquake. I was a little bit frightened that it would tear the partition walls. That's the first thing you should ask her before anything else. Now, you probably wouldn't understand this, but Sarah and I had so much else to talk about. We had endless things to talk about, and I just didn't have the presence of mind or chance to think about myself. For us, the first priority was to regain the time we'd lost. And to be honest, I could care less about my name. Listen, kid, just think about it. It's your name. Aren't you curious to know? Now when you brought it up, I'm starting to wonder. When I was talking to Sarah, it didn't even flash through my mind. You sighed with an exaggerated gesture. exaggerated gesture. Well, just put yourself in our position, you. Sarah and I saw each other for the first time in 9 years. We were just so happy, caught up in the memories. But on the other hand, we were scared, in pain, and our hearts ached. All of these emotions were mixing up, jumbling together, and came flooding over us. Sarah and I were overwhelmed, just trying to understand one another. Like I said, names didn't seem so important at the time. She just called me brother, and I just wanted to call her sister. Do you understand? No, not at all. You said that and started to walk off. Hey, wait a second, where are you going? Splashing water, you walked down the long, straight corridor. I tagged along beside her and asked her again. Where are you going? I'm gonna ask Mayo. What? Well, hello. Your name, of course, kid. Look, you didn't have to do that. Huh? Why not? What you've been saying doesn't make sense. Don't you want to regain your full memory? Don't you want to know who you are? Oh, of course I do, but... Well then, instead of talking about stupid, outrageous things like seeing the future or time travel, don't you think it would be faster just to ask Mayo? I thought back briefly to the sight of myself in that mirror. I've been so confused at that time because my face didn't look like my face. If the same thing happened when Sarah told me my name, I was afraid I might feel like my name wasn't really my name and end up all confused again. To tell the truth, it was a bit scary. Besides, is the name really all that important? What? Look, names are just a way people give them, a way to give people themselves to identify to one another more conveniently. It's just for convenience. So while living without a name certainly has its own challenges, I don't think a name is an absolute necessity. Take dolphins. They're highly intelligent creatures, but they go around calling one another by name. You don't know if that's true though. And they seem to be getting along just fine. And they seem to be able to identify one dolphin from the others too. They know which one is a son, which one is a wife, and the difference between a grey whale and a killer whale. They don't have names, yet they can recognise things correctly. You don't know they don't have names. They speak in dolphin language. And this is just speculation, but they seem to recognise individual identities. The dolphin seems to have its own sense of self, separate from that of the dolphin swimming next to it, and is aware that it is a separate entity. You don't have to depend on names to recognise all these things. My name is James. This one next to me is Ling Ling, and that one chasing after me after a fish is Umimi. Umemi? Umemi? I don't think they do that. It may sound cocky, but sometimes I feel humans depend on names too much. If one day this girl you've known as Ling Ling tells you, oh, by the way, my name is Lang Lang, wouldn't that throw you off? It would cause confusion, and you might think, you know, Ling Ling and Lang Lang are really similar, but they're probably just two different people. It seems stupid to get confused just because of a name. Meaning people value, trust, and depend on names more than the actual individual differences. I bet dolphins don't think like that, because to begin with, they don't have names to identify individuals. I realized for the first time once I lost my name, I noticed that a name really isn't all that important. You didn't stop walking. She wasn't listening to whether she was listening to me or not, because she didn't respond to me at all. Are you listening to me? As we turned around a corner, I asked her, Yep, I'm listening. I've been thinking about what you were just saying. I feel like I understand what you mean. You know, I've had a complex about my name for a long time, and I actually thought for quite a lot about this issue. Complex? Yeah, because it's long. You don't like your own name, you? Of course I don't. Why? I'm embarrassed about it. People introduce themselves to one another when they meet, right? Every time a new year at school would start, I would just cringe. Oh. I murmured. I remember you said something about your full name being much longer, right? Yeah, and that's right, it's different in Kid's version than it is in Takeshi's version. Well, would that have something to do with the fact that you don't like your name? Something to do with it? That's why I don't like it. You stopped walking. She had a bitter smile on her face. You want to know? What? I still haven't told you my full name yet. I guess. Will you promise you won't laugh? Sure. Okay, I'll tell you. My name is Tanaka. Yubei Sei Akikana. It means gentle, beautiful, pure, autumn, fragrant, green blossom. That's right, and it was spring in Takeshi's side, wasn't it, instead of autumn here. What? Yubei Sei Akikana. That's not so bad. Yubei Sei Akikana. All of a sudden, it was as if I felt a heavy thud in the bottom of my heart. A strange feeling started to take over my body. A sense of something out of place. That's it, that's right. I must have known you's real name, but I've never heard it from you directly. What's going on? was just like the situation with Sarah. I already knew Yu's real name from before. Yu's real name was... Your real name is... Yubisei Harukana. What? You said it wrong, didn't you? You actually meant to say Harukana, right? Look, I don't think I'd say my own name incorrectly. Well, Haru or Aki, either one is fine with me. But on the birth certificate it says Aki. No. What? Your full name is Yubisei Harukana. It's not Aki. What are you laughing about? This isn't funny at all. You don't remember your own name? Yeah, that just may be it. My real name is... Oh, was it Ling Ling? No, wait, maybe it was Lang Lang. Kid, listen up. My name is Yubisei Akikano. It's been that way since I was born. And it will be that way as long as I live. You got it? It's neither Haru, or Natsu, or Fuyu, but Aki. Autumn. Is it because your hair's orange? Do you know why? I was born 18 years and 7 months ago. A little more than 7 months, to be exact. My birthday is September 22nd. I was born in Japan. I wasn't born in the southern hemisphere. Let's see. Was September spring in Japan? No, it's autumn, isn't it? So my name is Akikana. Aki is in autumn. You got that? I was already starting to lose my sense of reality. A bottomless fear crept up from the pit of my stomach and threatened to leap out of my throat. My head started to ache, and then... Brother, Nakyu! I glanced as I put my hand on my temple. Splashing water in all directions, Sarah came toward us. Good timing. Good timing? Sarah stood in front of us, tilting her head quizzically. Actually, I have a question for you, Mayor. What is it? The kid's name. Will you tell me his real name? You put her hand over my shoulder. I knew her hand was touching my shoulder, but I couldn't feel it. I was dizzy and about to faint. I thought to myself, this would probably be a lot easier if I just faint. But both my feet stood soundly on the floor and I braced myself. I looked at Sarah. Sarah's mouth opened up like an empty hollow. I couldn't hear her voice. I saw Sarah's lips were moving, but I couldn't hear her voice for some reason. I couldn't hear Yu's voice either. All I could hear was just the sound of my blood flowing through my ears. In that moment, my sight crashed to pieces. The scenery before me stripped of all colour. A voice. A voice. A voice. I could hear a voice from far away darkness. Somebody whispering to me. Who are you? Who am I? Who am I? Hokuto. Your name is Hokuto. Hokuto, huh? So that's what he's called? Now that you mention it, he does look kind of like a Hokuto to me. Hokuto? That is my name? That's right, brother. Hokuto, Hokuto, Hokuto. I repeated it over and over again. Hokuto, Hokuto, Hokuto. My hunch had been right. I'd never heard the name Hokuto before. Hokuto, that couldn't possibly be my name. It didn't feel real to me at all. But Sarah wouldn't lie to me. So I figured Hokuto must be my name. Hokuto, Hokuto, Hokuto. Name. Yu's name is Yubisei Akikana. My name is Hokuto. There's too much to think about. I felt I was close to my mental limit. So, because we know, and have done since we went to Takeshi's side, that Yu's name is different in the Takeshi timeline to what it is in the Kid timeline. Is Kid's name different in the Takeshi timeline and the Kid timeline? Because we can't really find out his name in the Takeshi timeline because Sarah doesn't exist. Or, I mean, she's not here if she does exist. So how would we find out? But I feel like his name and face and everything are different in both timelines? Or at least name. Like, Yu's name is different, but her face is the same. I felt I was close to my mental limit. I was dizzy. My head ached. I looked at my palm. I had 5 fingers. Everything seemed out of place to me. I still couldn't regain the real me. Is this me who's looking at my palm, or is it somebody that isn't me? Is Hokuto really me? Or is it me who's not Hokuto? Hokuto. Is that really... And we're back to Takeshi. Is that really his name? Tsugumi slightly nodded her head. Her face was all red. So you're charming, because you're charming. That's cute. What a good name. How cute. That's what I thought. I did my best to stifle my laughter. Oh, come on, you promised not to laugh. I'm not laughing. I tried to keep a straight face, but the corners of my mouth started to twitch. I can just imagine Tsugumi baby talking to it. Charmy poo, it's din din time. Ugh. That's why I didn't want to tell you. Sullen, Tsugumi was red-faced. She held out her bath towel she had had behind her back. Oh, thanks. I took the towel and wiped myself down. Whew. I breathed deeply, feeling reborn as I glanced at Tsugumi's profile. She was playing with the hamster in her hand, and her cheeks were bright red. She looked so happy. It was the first time I had ever seen her smile like she meant it. Takeshi, thank you, Tsugumi said in a whisper without looking at my face. I headed toward the eye area with Tsugumi. Since we were in the area with the generator room, we had to get one of those egg-like elevators to get back. I felt excited, maybe from the feeling of accomplishment of rescuing Charmy, but my feet were heavy, my body just couldn't keep up. I was exhausted. 5 hours earlier I'd been running with you on my back, who had started suffering from something all of a sudden. And with this, to rescue Charmy, I swam over 300 feet underwater. Was this really just fatigue? This heaviness? I feel a bit feverish too. I have a slight headache. Maybe I caught a cold. What's wrong? Tsugumi must have noticed my slow steps and looked at my face worried. I'm just tired. Are you alright? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just tired is all. Okay. Tsugumi was worried about me. It was a funny feeling. By the way, how about yourself? Huh? Your leg, your injury. Tsugumi was dragging her right foot. I'm alright. Are you really? That wound didn't open up or anything, did it? You want to see? Tsugumi stopped walking. She quickly flipped up her skirt with her hands. Cut it out. In shock, I slapped Tsugumi's hand and stopped her. Tsugumi chuckled gleefully. My feet felt much lighter all of a sudden. As for you, turned out she wasn't as bad as I thought. After resting for an hour in the infirmary, she regained a surprising amount of her strength. But why did you start suffering like that all of a sudden? I asked you, but she changed the subject and didn't tell me anything. I also asked Sora, but her answer was the same. Sora must have known something since she had examined you with a repaired LMRI. That thought still bothered me. It was still such that only one person at a time could ride the egg. Tsugumi went up first. I rode up shortly after. The egg zipped upward, quickly arriving at its white stock. As soon as I got there, Tsugumi was waiting for me. Charmy was sitting on her hand. Tsugumi stuck out both her arms to the side. Charmy walked from one hand to the other, crossing Tsugumi's arms. Tsugumi had a happy smile on her face. That I couldn't help from smiling too. For no particular reason, Tsugumi and I stared at each other for a while. Do you want to try? Saying so, Tsugumi put Charmy on my shoulder. I stretched out my arms, and suddenly Charmy charged onto my arms. It tickled so much that I couldn't help but wriggle my body. Charmy looked hesitant when he got to the end, which was the tip of my hand. I held Charmy gently in my palm and looked at him closely. Charmy, huh? Are you Charmy? Well, are you? Come on, answer me. Of course, Charmy didn't answer. Maybe he was frightened I would eat him. Yeah, he sure is charming. He's charming because he's so darn charming. Curious, I decided to ask Tsugumi a question. Why are you called Tsugumi? Huh? Your name, I mean, does it come from Chinese character for the bird? The red wing? The bird? If I remember correctly, they migrate, right? Oh, red wings? Not to disappoint you, but no, my name has nothing to do with birds. Then what does your name mean? As I asked Tsugumi, I passed Charmy back to her hand. Tsugumi picked up Charmy and told me, Satellite of the Earth, and where we are at. Huh? What's the one satellite this Earth has? The moon. And where are we right now? Lemur. What's all around us here at Lemur? Water? The ocean? Yeah. In Japanese, you write moon and then the ocean, and read it Tsugumi. Oh, I see. Come to think of it, I didn't know which Chinese characters your name used. Moon and ocean, huh? That's a really pretty name. Tsugumi's cheeks turned pink, and then... Daddy, Mummy! Bow wow, bow wow. Coco and Pee-Pee came rushing in. I told you not to call me Daddy, and I told you not to call me Mummy. What? Huh? Tsugumi and I looked at each other. Coco's been calling you Mummy, Tsugumi, and she's been calling you Daddy, Takeshi. She keeps doing it no matter what I say. Hey Daddy, Mummy, let's play. Bow wow. After a while, Tsugumi and I had begged Coco not to call us Daddy or Mummy. It took us about 3 hours to finally convince her. It was 3 times more exhausting to convince Coco than to dash with you on my back and swim underwater 102 meters. By the way, Coco's reason for calling Tsugumi Mummy was, a girl who doesn't have a mummy can kill somebody who reminds her of her mummy. It's written in the Nakal tablet, wasn't it? So she said. Needless to say, Coco already had a real mother. After finally convincing Coco, I went to see you. Even before I'd gone to rescue Charmy, you had seemed to be recovering your strength. But the way she looked when she'd first started feeling pain didn't seem normal. I was still concerned about her even though she looked better, so I decided to make sure you was alright. Sora told me I could find you in the security office. I entered into the room. You were sitting at the front of the console, staring blankly at the screen. Hi. I called out a greeting as I sat down in the seat next to her. You grabbed a coffee cup, took a big gulp and said, "Thank you." Huh? I didn't have a chance to say it earlier, right? So thank you. Yu's eyes were fixed on the display. You took about when I carried you to the infirmary earlier. Yes. You don't have to thank me. I just want to ask you a question. What caused it anyway? Cause? What are you talking about? You still wouldn't look at me. A normal healthy person doesn't just suddenly clutch their chest in pain, you know. And besides, you said it happens all the time. What is it about? When I asked, she turned the seat halfway and stood up. Hey Takeshi, do you remember why I came to Limo? You changed the subject all of a sudden. She's good at that. I didn't understand why she was asking the question, but I answered her anyway. Yeah, I do. You came to get a part-time job for the holidays. But it was just an excuse to search for your father who's been missing for 17 years, right? I remember the story you told me in front of the merry-go-round the first day. My mum seems to think my dad is already dead, but you know, I believe. I know my dad is still alive somewhere. He's gotta be. He just went missing, they never found his body. I just had to find out if he was alive or dead. If he's alive, of course I want to see him. And if he's dead, I want to find some kind of evidence. Otherwise, I won't give up, I just can't accept it. Just like that time, I didn't know what to say to her. The story of the 800-year-old nun came to my mind. You believe that the 800-year-old nun actually existed. How in the story the sound of the bell had stopped one day, but nobody actually found her body. When I came to think of it, I realised that was probably Yu's wish. She was probably mixing her feelings about her father's situation with the story of the nun. It occurred to me that way. And so that's why I was researching just now. And did you find out anything? Nothing. I can't figure out the password. I give up. I looked at the monitor. An authentication window was being displayed. The cursor was flashing without a sound. I see. Biting her lip, Yu glanced down dejectedly. She was wrapped in a hazy blue light from the display. I picked up the cup from the table and sipped some of Yu's leftover coffee. It was cold. It's alright. You know, you'll see him again. I looked down into the cup. The black coffee hid the cup bottom of the bottom of the cup from my view. Thank you. But I don't think I'll ever see him again. What? I looked up in surprise. Yu was forcing herself to smile. She squinted her eyes and looked off into the distance. I came here because I thought I wanted to find out about my dad, but I realized actually that it wasn't that at all. I'm running out of time. I've gone way past my limit, so that's why, before the time comes, I had to know the truth. She's running out of time? She doesn't think she'll ever see him again? It happens all the time? She's been suffering with her hand on her chest? No, it can't be. I didn't even want to think about it. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath and tried to shake bad thoughts from my mind. Hey you, what do you mean by that? Yu crossed her arms behind her back and started walking slowly away, head down. She stopped in front of the back wall, turned around and walked back in front of me. The sound of her shoes echoed on the hard floor. The cursor silently flashing on the display, the cold coffee in my hand. I looked into the cup again. The glossy liquid was rippling with small waves. I can't tell you. The sound of her shoes stopped abruptly. Why? She raised her face quietly and said, if I start telling you now, I might talk about things I don't want to talk about. But, Takeshi... You interrupted my words and went on. Have you ever done something wrong or sinned, Takeshi? Sinned? Yeah. A massive sin. I don't care whether you believe in God or not. I'm asking if you ever committed a sin that was morally wrong and there was nothing you could do to mend it. Hasn't everybody? Hasn't everybody done something wrong? Come on. I'm gonna say first though. Yes. Well, I guess I might have. What have you done? Well, different things, I guess. Things you can't tell me. I don't really want to talk about it, to be honest. I think that sins are something you carry through life by yourself. It seems cowardly for me to unburden it onto somebody else, and I beg for you, and beg for pity and compassion. I feel the same way. That's why I can't tell you. If I tell you now, it would be an excuse. I crossed a line that should never be crossed. I turned my back on God. It's like an original sin to me. I can never escape from it, and I don't intend to. As long as I live. Yes, as long as I live, I must carry the sin with me. But you know what? You might think that I'm horrible, but I don't regret anything. It's probably better this way. Because this way I'm the only one who has sinned. That means I'm the only one who will be punished. She has no sin. She who has no sin to carry on. She? Who are you talking about? About myself. My other self. Your other self? Are you telling me you have a split personality? You didn't say anything and took the cup from my hand. She sipped the cold coffee. For some reason you suddenly tilted the cup. The black liquid, overtaken by the force of gravity, went splashing to the floor. You? Yu's eyes were fixed on me. There was no expression on her face. All the emotion had gone from her face, and I couldn't read what she was thinking. Her eyes were dark, dull, without a spark, like a pair of glass beads in ash grey. Eventually, you whispered, "She is my sister." Your sister? Yes. And at the same time, she is me. She and I are twins, you see. She is my twin sister. Fraternal twins? You yelped right next to my ear. What are you so surprised about? Didn't I tell you? Well, yeah, I heard that you and Maya were twins, but nothing about fraternal or identical or anything like that. Oh, but I found myself laughing in spite of myself. You cocked your head. Well, of course we're fraternal twins. I mean, I'm a guy and Sarah's a girl. So? Monozygotic is when one egg is fertilized. Monozygotic is when one egg is fertilized and that embryo splits into two. Both twins have the exact same genetic makeup. That's why they're called identical, because they look the same. And of course they're the same gender. So for identical twins, you can't have anything other than two girls or two boys. But dizygotic, on the other hand, is when two different eggs are fertilized by different sperm. So they're two separate entities from the beginning, each with a different genetic makeup. That way, they may or may not be the same gender. They may not even look that much alike. They're basically just other siblings. So they're more like siblings who happen to be in your mother's body and get born around the same time. I get it. So if a boy and a girl are twins, they have to be fraternal, not identical. Exactly. So what were we talking about again? You forgot? Well, it started when you said something like, so Mayo and you are twins. But you aren't good at computers like Mayo is. In fact, you've got absolutely no aptitude for them. Why is that? And I said, because we're fraternal twins. Oh, right, I remember now. You flailed your limbs around on top of the ruins. That's right. You and I were on top of the Lemurian ruins, so after all that, do you get it? Huh? Get what? She paused in her flailing. The reason I'm not good at computers. Oh, that it's like this, right? Because you and Mayo are different from one another and other siblings. I mean, being good at computers isn't genetic anyway. Even if you're identical twins, that wouldn't mean that both of them are good at computers. That's a learned skill. It's not fucking genetic. Because you and Mayo are different from one another as any other siblings. Unlike identical twins, your genetic strengths, character, or whatever are completely different. Right. I'd say that our infrared vision is the only inherited trait that we even share. Aside from that, I don't think we're very much alike. So, what were we talking about before that? I sighed and started explaining. Jesus Christ, she can't pay attention for more than 10 seconds, can she? But before that, I decided to explain what you and I were doing there. It went back to that afternoon, before I knew my real name. Sura came out with some information rather abruptly. Yoichi Tanaka passed away 17 years ago. Yuki Tanaka passed away 15 years ago as well. Yoichi was Yu's father, and Yuki was her mother. Both of Yu's parents had passed away. It was unfortunately a fact that was true. There was proof including dated mail and other files. I had seen them with my own eyes, but Yu still wasn't convinced. In her heart, she believed that her father was alive. Of course, regarding her mother, she was even more vehement. My mother works at Lemur. We were living together until right before all of this happened. There's no way she died 15 years ago. It was hard to know what to say, but I said this. Maybe she wasn't your real mother. Meaning she might not even be Yuki. Yu was shaking her head back and forth as if to say, impossible. After a while, Yu spoke as if in a dream. If only I could hack into there. Then I could find out details, get the whole story. But there, she was pointing at was MMIH's high security data. All afternoon and into the night, she tried to hack her way in. but kept getting rejected at the confirmation point. She knew the password. The empty fall sky, a single cuckoo calls out, brings a chill to me. She kept trying different variations, caps, lowercase, different fonts, Latin, German. She enlisted Sora and Sarah's help, and they tried every possibility they could think of, but to no avail. The MMIH had built a high, impenetrable castle, and you was turned back again and again right at the gates. She was stricken with frustration and grief. Finally, exhausted at a loss, she found her way over to the Lemurian ruins. By the time I spotted her, she'd climbed all the way to the top. I sat down beside her. Neither of us spoke, but from time to time, you would let out a sigh, like she'd had a thought or something. Time passed slowly. Listen, kid, you get premonitions, right? After about the 153rd sigh, you suddenly came out with this question. Can you see anything about my parents? Oh, you know, premonitions aren't the same as seeing into the past. And you're talking about 15 and 17 years ago. When I was only 1 or not even born yet. Either way, there's no way I can look at that far into the past. You're totally useless. Even when Sora and Mayo were killing themselves helping me, you were just sitting there spaced out. Hey, actually, you and Mayo are twins, right? But you're not good with computers the way she is. In fact, you don't have any aptitude with them at all. Why is that? And that's what I answered. I said because we're fraternal twins. Whoa, banana, banana. I remember now. Cow, cow, cow. Remember Ember, cow, cow, cow. Now I remember. You appear to be malfunctioning. The harsh reality of things must have been too cruel for her to bear. When Sora first told her, you went hysterical, almost crazy, and then burst into a sobbing fit like a child. Maybe she cried herself out, because since then she'd seemed much calmer, but now, a pineapple. She was in bad shape. Are you okay? What's that? Maybe you're a little psychologically strained. No way, I'm fine. I'm starting over from here. No point in moping, right? Enough about me. How about you, Hokutan? Hokutan? Your name's Hokuto, right? So, Hokutan. Cut it out, don't call me that. Why not? I still can't think of myself as Hokuto. If I was walking down the street and someone called out Hokuto, I wouldn't turn around. In fact, I don't think I could. It wouldn't seem like they were calling out to me. Well, even if it is what you think, that's just too bad. Your name's Hokuto until you die, and you're just gonna have to live with it. We could get it changed at the, depot. But, if nothing else, I don't want you guys here to call me Hokuto. I'm used to being called Kid, and you guys are used to it too, right? You can't just switch in the middle like this. Well, I suppose, but still. You really just want to stay Kid? Yeah, that's fine. I told her how I felt. You really hate Hokuto that much. Listen, for the millionth time, I just don't think Hokuto is my name. It's got nothing to do with liking or disliking the name. Really. Look, I said this when we were talking about the Ling Ling and Lang Lang, but I really don't care what my name is. I'm not fussy and I'm certainly not attached to it. But you can't not care at all. Whether you like it or not, a name is like a billboard for who you are. If you're going to live in society, you need a name eventually. I mean, anytime you make a contact or apply for something or take an exam or get arrested, whatever you say, your name is the most important way to verify who you are. Names are like ID numbers for people. Identification. The word just slipped out. And then... What did you say? You grabbed the back of my head and pulled my face towards hers. What? Just now. Now. Kid, what did you just say? I didn't say anything. I just repeated back what you were saying. You leveled a determined glare at me. She raised her fingers and twirled it like a magic wand. She breathed in through her nose. I waited for her to breathe out, but she kept breathing in and in. I covered my ears. She grabbed my hands and pulled them away from my ears. And then, with all the air she just sucked in, she let it loose right next to me. I've got it. She grinned loosely. I just kept blinking at her, and then... I got it. I see. I sincerely love you. Smooch. All of a sudden, out of the blue, with no warning, she kissed my cheek. A perfect hit. I was a little giddy. Well, hurry up. Ask me. Ask? Come on, ask me. Hey, you. What'd you figure out? I did as I was told. Hey, you. What'd you figure out? Funny you should ask, kid. You see, you know the reason you couldn't get past the confirmation and let MMIH? I figured it out. All this time, we thought we had the password wrong. Right? But that wasn't it. The password is probably fine. The empty falls sky, a single cuckoo calls out, brings a chill to me. What do you mean? So it's gotta be this. It wasn't the password we had wrong. It was the username. Username? Yep. A person is like an identification. A name is like an identification number for a person. It's what confirms who you are. So if we had the name wrong, It wouldn't matter how perfectly we put the password in. Access denied, invalid name or password. I've seen the message umpteen times. If you're right, and the mother I knew wasn't really my mother, it would mean that her real name wasn't Yuki Tanaka, which would mean if you just knew her real name, you could clear MMIH's confirmation. Exactly. You tapped my forehead, but how will you figure out her real name? Well, Sora ought to know, right? Before I could say sorry, you grabbed my arms. A second later, hey! She jumped down off the ruins with a great cry. Pulled off balance, I flew clumsily through the air. I nearly toppled onto my head, but managed to right myself like a cat and landed safely. My own excellent reflexes impressed me. As for you, she was sprawled on her belly in a puddle, arms and legs spread awkwardly. You, are you okay? When I called her name, you hopped up, water dripped from her hair. She was soaked from head to toe. Well, don't just stand there, let's go, she spoke calmly. Flinging off water, she headed toward the exit. From the back, she looked completely dry. I stood for a minute in front of the gates of the Lemurian ruins, just thinking. If you were right, and the mother I know isn't really my mother, it means her real name isn't Yuki Tanaka. So what was her name then? Name. Yu's real name was Yubise Akikana. Yubise Akikana. Aki meaning autumn. Autumn. The empty fall sky a single cuckoo calls out brings a chill to me. I broke down by character. Empty fall sky, single cuckoo, calling, brings chill. A jumble of bits and illogical fragments. I tried to form them into a coherent pattern, but they slipped away. I couldn't grasp them. But I couldn't help but feel that I'd brushed up against another premonition, or at least an intuition. It was a haiku. 17 syllables. I muttered it out loud. The empty fall sky a single cuckoo calls out brings a chill to me. It was then. Someone was standing in the darkness beyond the entrance to the ruins. A human figure. A female. Her body was giving off heat, glowing redder than red. I couldn't see her face. I could just see that she was there. She was holding her breath in the darkness, staring at me. Who are you? She didn't answer. She didn't come any closer, but she didn't seem like she was going to run. The figure bathed in light looked like she might be a ghost. A ghost? A phantom girl. Hokuto? I heard a tiny voice. Hokuto, my name. Was she calling to me? Hokuto? Fearfully, I went a little closer. The darkness grew deep. At the same time, the light she gave off grew more brilliant. Her outlines sprang into view. It had to be... Okay, well this seems like a perfect time to do a cliffhanger for you. Enjoy that cliffhanger, and the next one will continue from there, because we're way out of time anyway. I've been waiting for that segment to end so we could wrap it up, but cliffhangers are good too. We must be pretty close to the end anyway, but we'll see what happens. Until then, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.